This is the Ramana Maharshi 40 Verses on Reality, Satsang, a time for self-reflection and self-inquiry. Know yourself and be always free and at peace. I'm Richard Clarke, hosting this satsang. Welcome. I'm a seeker like you, sharing what we love. I've been blessed with years of deep teaching and practice, and I bring this to you in this satsang. This week's readings are from Ramana Maharshi's 40 Verses on Reality, and it's verse 16. Apart from us, where is time and where is space? If we are bodies, we're involved in time and space. But are we? We are one and identical now, then, and forever, here and everywhere. Therefore, we, timeless and spaceless being, alone are. You are here and now. Ideas of past and future only exist in the now. Ideas of other places only exist here. Now and here are just another way to talk about you and what exists at all times and everywhere. What exists at all time and everywhere? It is the eternal and the infinite. What is this eternal and infinite, and what is its relation to you? It is not that we are in time and space, but rather time and space are within us. The body seems to operate within time and space, but are we the body? Like time and space, the body exists within us. We don't exist in a body. The mind is never now. The mental reflection is not immediate. The instant required for mental comprehension means that the mind can never quite reach now. But you are always now in the experience of being, in the experience of existence. You never will find your identity within your mind. The mind knows only the past and the imagination of the future. Your identity is what knows the mind, what lights the mind up with consciousness. Self-realization is now. Meditation and inquiry take you out of your mind and into now. That's why for most of us, these are a key part of our search for and path to self-realization. These help you move past your mind and all its thoughts and into the present moment, the moment in which everything occurs, the only moment that there ever is. Time and space exist for a body mind. Are you a body? Are you a mind? Who are you? Now to our videos for the week. First is Rupert Spira. He talks about the four-dimensional experience of time and space takes place in dimensionless awareness.
Can it then be perfectly all right to say there is no time, and yet in the objects of the awareness there can be time, so there can still be World War II, as was discussed this morning, or a scar that happened 14 years later before? Because these are, after all, those phenomena happened in those time-space phenomena.
Well,
and it does not preclude the fact that the awareness has no time. It's just because it's in that realm of those objects on the other side of the telescope.
Okay. When imagine that you're in the waking state, and you have dinner, you go to bed, and you fall asleep. Yeah. Now, from the point of view of your roommate is still in the waking state, and you have fallen asleep. Now you're lying on your bed, and in your mind, this world, or your body and its world, have vanished as you fall asleep. But in your mind, you dream a new world, or the mind creates a new world, and it identifies itself with one of the bodies in that world. So again, in the dream, you find yourself as I, this person, experiencing a world outside of me, just like you do in the waking state. However, remember, you're asleep in your bed. This entire dreamed world is taking place in the single dimension of time from the point of view of this waking state. So you've fallen asleep in your mind, the mind just takes place in time, not in space. Thought is just in time, it's not in space. So in your mind, in the single dimension of mind, a new four-dimensional world of time and space appears. And you see a three-dimensional world plus which exists in time. So you, the self that you have identified with, is moving around in a world that is as real in your experience as this world is in the waking state. Yes? Now, when you wake up, you realize that this four-dimensional world took place in what is, from the point of view of the waking state, just a single dimension. And in your waking state dream, you can dream that 10 years passed. Those 10 years in your dreamed world are absolutely real. They are as real as 10 years in this waking state. But when you wake up, you realize, wow, that length of time, 10 years in the dream state, is 2 seconds in the waking state. Now, why couldn't 10 years in the waking state, or indeed 10,000 years in the waking state, take place not in 2 seconds for awareness, but in the timelessness of awareness? And that is actually, if you think about the experience of deep sleep, that this waking state of 4 dimensions dissolves and becomes 1 dimension of mind in the dream state. Yeah? So 4-dimensional waking state world, time and space, becomes 1 dimension of mind in the dream state, and then that single dimension collapses into deep sleep, which has no dimensions. in that, then when we go the other way from sleep to dream, that zero-dimensional point becomes a single dimension of time. That's tomorrow morning's dream. And in that single dimension of time, a new three-dimensional world, the waking state, appears. But it all takes place in the zero-dimensional point which we experience as deep sleep. That's amazing. And it's our experience.
Yeah. And I sometimes see it like this point, zero-dimensional point, with little balloons blowing up, which can be identified with these realms, dream realms, reality realms. And each of these balloons have 3 dimensions in space and time. And they come and go in that one zero-dimensional point, like little balloons popping up like this.
Yes, yes. But somehow in your image you have to get the balloons appearing in the zero-dimensional. And then why shouldn't there be other balloons that have more dimensions? Why only 4? It's just the human mind has the capacity of conception, that's the single dimension of mind, and perception, that's the 3 dimensions of space. But why not other kinds of perception, not just conception and perception? Conception, thought, that is 1 dimension of time. Perception, that is space, that is 3 dimensions. Why not other dimensions? Why not a different kind of mind that has a different kind of somethingception, through which they experience 10 dimensions or 12 dimensions? Or we can't think of that. In the same way that if I asked you now to get out of space, you just don't know which way to turn. You cannot turn in that direction. In the same way, we cannot think of more than 4 dimensions. But that is a limitation of the mind, not a limitation of what is out there in awareness, because awareness has no dimensions. It is infinite possibility. There are an infinite number of dimensions that are possible, because awareness itself has no dimensions. So the mistake we make is to impose the limitations that belong to the mind onto awareness. As you rightly say, that the power and the make of the telescope tells us nothing about the one who looks through it. That the power and make of the mind, this is a 4-dimensional human mind, or this is a 1-dimensional flea's mind, or a 10-dimensional alien mind, tells us nothing about the consciousness which looks through those minds, and through those minds sees the corresponding world, a 1-dimensional world, a 3-dimensional world, or why not a 10-dimensional world?
Thank you very much.
And now my teacher Nome, and Nome gives a talk, Eternal and Real.
That which is real is eternal. Aspire to realize the eternal. What is eternal? Whatever appears disappears. And between those 2 points in time is actually completely unreal. That is, if it has a beginning and if it has an end, it did not truly exist in the middle. What is eternal? it must be changeless, for we perceive all changeful things come to an end. What is changeless and eternal? Discern, discriminate, and regard only the eternal as real, and consequently only the eternal as yourself. The eternal self cannot possibly be a body. And the realization of the eternal self does not depend on anything bodily. It has no bodily characteristics. It has no bodily location. Regard only the unchanging, eternal as yourself and not the body. What is eternal? Is there a thought that is eternal? Inasmuch as thought always pertains to what is objective, it cannot be eternal. So, aspiring to realize the eternal, do not depend on thought or any mode of mind. The ever-existent is the eternal, without beginning, interruption, or end. What is ever-existent? Existence itself never ceases to exist. It is nameless, formless, imperceptible, and inconceivable. Strive to realize the eternal. Know that only the eternal is yourself. If you regard only the eternal as the self, as the reality, you will abide free of all attachment and misidentification. What is eternal is ever existent. So the self is not something to be attained anew. It is not something waiting to be produced. It does not require a transformation of any kind. It already is. The unreal has no existence. The reality ever is. As for the apparent individual who does not realize this, That is not you. That is most certainly not eternal. It is rather a momentary hallucination, a transient figment of imagination. Only the eternal is you. Only the eternal is real. If in this manner you discern the eternal, real self, your happiness endures forever. As the eternal, you are quite free. As the eternal, your very nature is liberation. As the eternal, your peace is unending and perfectly full.
And now we will take a little time to inquire, to meditate. Breathe in and breathe out. Long, slow breaths. Notice the breath as it comes in. Feel it as it goes out. And notice that you exist. You exist, and you know that you exist. And now, investigate within yourself. Inquire, when is now? Where is here? Who knows now? What knows here? What is always? What within you is eternal? Who am I? All right, let's close with a short chant. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. Thank you for letting me share this teaching with you. This series on Ramana's 40 verses on reality will continue in the following weeks. If this was of interest to you, I have more: a free book site, a YouTube site, and my blog. The URLs will be on screen next. Namaste.